We're live, and we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Hat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We keep you connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And we've got a show packed full of fun for you this week.
Action-packed.
Going to talk some new comics. Might talk a couple of old comics. A little bit of anything going on in the world of four-color funny books. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're reading. What's at the top of your stack this week? What are you reading? What are you looking forward to reading? What's your favorite book of the week? But we always like to start with a little comic shop news. Comic shop news. Not a whole lot of huge announcements this week, I guess. We have been rolling out our in-store appointments, and folks have been having a lot of fun with that. Been filling those up. If you want to get back into Black Cat Comics at Rockin' Milpitas, go to black-cat-comics.com. Click on In-Store Experience. And book the half-hour time slot that works for you. Come on in and let's talk some comics face to face. A lot of folks have been doing that. It's good to see people getting back in the shop.
I was trying to think of news because there was something this week that did come out, but it's really more it's more like retailer stuff. It's not really consumer-facing news about the Diamonds Pool Box service, but that doesn't really affect you guys or our store. So.
Do you want to talk a little about StokerCon? StokerCon was this weekend.
It's still going.
Week.
It's active right now. Yeah. StokerCon, for those of you who don't know, is a horror convention that happens every year. This year, because of COVID, it is virtual. And it's been a lot of fun. So this morning I watched a panel by Joe Lansdale, and he was talking about writing for the Batman animated series, which I had forgotten, and he really enjoyed it. And he's writing, hopefully he'll be asked to write for the new Batman animated series that's also coming out. Mm-hmm. But he had nothing but good things to say about writing Batman and about writing for the animated series. And he wrote like a short story in an anthology, and he wrote like a Batman book I didn't know about, so I could go check that out.
That does ring a bell.
I must have
We might already have that. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Batman animated series episode written by Joe R. Lansdale is the one where Bruce Wayne gets kidnapped and is put in that like hot box and he forgets that he's Batman. So good. Remember that one?
Yeah, it might be. He made reference to Jonah Hex, so there might be.
Yes, that was the next one.
A Jonah Hex in there also.
There's a Jonah Hex episode where he remembers basically, well, maybe it's a spoiler, but the show's 30 years old and you've all seen him anyway. It's 20. About Ra's al Ghul.
Don't give me an extra decade. I don't need any more gray hair.
It's 30. Sorry, 1992.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's the Ra's al Ghul with Raz's boy.
So old.
You didn't know Raz had a boy. Anyway, Lansdale's awesome. He also did. It is one of the all-time.
I think I shed a tear.
He did Lone Ranger for Topps Comics for a while too. That I really enjoyed. That's where he got the name on my landscape. No pun intended, I guess.
But the short version of the con is it's fun. It's artists, creators, writers talking about horror and the genre that we all know and love. But what's nice is if you're a writer that, dove into comics here and there, it was kind of like your dirty little secret. Now folks are like proud to say, I am a comic book writer. And comic book writers are winning Bram Stoker awards for their comic books and their graphic novels. So it's nice to see this evolution of horror from dark in the shadows, creepy dude with a trench coat, no one wants to hear from this guy, to, I write comics and I write horror comics and all things are good. So it's nice to see comics at the same table as prose and poetry and all that other good sources of literature.
Super true. Also, I just love the idea of StokerCon. I love the idea of...
Great name, right?
It is a great name. And
though not to be confused with
TokerCon. I think TokerCon is something else that we don't talk about on All Ages programs. Actually, it's legal now.
It's illegal.
So anyway,
It's medicinal.
and cons, just whatever, any type of con, horror con, whatever gets us talking about conventions, either virtual or in person, is right up my alley and a ton of fun for me. So yes, check out StokerCon, those cool online panels. I'm a big fan. I've become a big fan of this online convention thing.
I love it.
I like the DC, whatever that Thunderdome thing they did, DC Thunderdome, and the
Thunderdome.
and of course Comic-Con and all the things that have been everybody's work around through this whole pandemic thing, I think has turned everybody on to a new way of doing things, and that's kind of fun.
Expect like Mongol to come out and like have this like battle between Jim Lee and
that'd be kind of awesome.
So
DC
great.
War World. So good times. That's kind of the world of comics. As always, this is an interactive program. If there's something crazy going on in the world of comics you want to talk about, throw us your questions, comments, queries, and concerns, and we will address those to the best of our ability.
Other news. So running out of the first print. So if you want to get a first print, you should grab it now. It's Black Cat Chronicles numero uno. I'm working on the script for the second issue, and we talked about it a little bit last week, and it's moving right along, and it's going to be hopefully ready for you guys by the end of the summer, if not sooner. Show some art.
I want to that.
Yeah.
Boom.
I love this.
Or should I say
Nice. Who doesn't love a creepy, mist-filled cemetery?
I mean, a black cat in a graveyard. What's cooler than
page.
that? Black Cat Chronicles #1. Like she says, first prints are getting low. Grab them while you can, and you want to pick that up before the second issue.
Voila.
Good stuff.
See.
So shall we start talking about some comics?
Sure.
Because that's what we do here at Comic Shop Talk Live.
Yep. What's top of your stack this week?
What's at the top of your stack this week?
Well, I've got quite a few. I got a hefty stack, but what's top of the stack? Oh, how I love the storytellers. So one-shots, 4-issue themed. This theme is on tricksters, so they're fairy tale, legends, myths, stories. Some of them are retelling of traditional stories that you know and love. Some of them are brand new. But this one, as you can see, the trickster is the fox. So it's probably a new version or a take on the fox as trickster, which is known and beloved in several different cultures, spanning several different time periods. So each issue is done by a different artist/writer-creator team, but still with that storyteller as the narrator. So pick up issue this one's number 3 out of 4. And let me show you some incredible art.
That's some fun art. That's fun.
Colorful. And it might look kind of all ages-ish, a little cartoony, but there's moments when you're like, yeah, I wouldn't want my little kid to be reading that. So maybe like a 13 and up kind of thing would be my recommendation if you've got young ones at home. So that's top of my stack this week. What about you?
Okay. Top of my stack this week is Fantastic Four Life Story #1.
Beat out Captain America, huh?
Yes, that's a very valid point that this book beat out quite a few really good books to earn the top spot in my thing. And to be 200% honest, that's purely on the basis of the Spider-Man Life Story book. As much as I love the FF, it's the life story theme that pushed this to from the top of my stack to the top of my stack. Okay, so if you don't know, Spider-Man Life Story and this week's Fantastic Four Life Story #1 basically takes the history of the characters and puts it in real time. So Spider-Man Life Story started with Peter Parker in 10th grade in 1962 because 1962 was when the book came out, when Peter was in 10th grade. And then it takes you through the entire history that you know of Amazing Spider-Man, decade by decade. And Gwen Stacy died in the 70s, and Peter marries MJ in the 80s, and they age, and the things happen, and then life progresses. Basically, a little bit of a what if story. What if your favorite Marvel character was told in real time? And you loved the Spider-Man one if you read it, because it was everything that a great Spider-Man story is. And now it's the Fantastic Four's turn. And I'm so excited about this, aside from the fact you all know I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. You all know I've got a big lineup of Fantastic Fours back here, and on I could go. But two things make this a really particularly a big deal. One, Fantastic Four is the beginning of the Marvel Age, the beginning of the Silver Age. Fantastic Four is a big reason why superhero comics still exist. And as the first Marvel book in the modern Marvel Age, it's really fun to see the beginning of the Marvel Age, and then that story told in time. The history of the Fantastic Four is the history of the Marvel Universe, particularly in, say, the first 5 years. The first 5 years of FF give you everything you know about the Marvel Universe. And so seeing that done with a serious tone and again, in real time is a lot of fun. Secondly, obviously, since they're the first Marvel book of the modern age, the FF has a huge history, and like Spider-Man has, big events that happened in every decade. And so seeing those things transpire in the decades that they actually occurred, especially if you're 100 years old like me and you remember those decades, is a lot of fun. Again, just sort of a really interesting version of the history of the Fantastic Four. Here's a little bit of art for you, because the art's awesome. And what was really great is this issue definitely captures the feel of those early Stan Lee stories where, Ben is really angry and bitter that he got turned into a monster, and Johnny's this loudmouth, obnoxious teenager, and on and on. They just really nail the essence of the Fantastic Four. So if you're a fan of the Marvel Universe history, if you love the FF like I do, if you read Spider-Man Life Story and it was super awesome, then pick this one up this week. It was really fun read, and just the kind of thing that you don't see every day. Fun stuff.
Good times.
Good times.
Good times for my
You have right there the other book that's top of my stack this week. Boom.
Legend of the Dark Knight. So haven't read it yet, but the art is amazeballs. Let me show. What can I show without spoiling? How about this one?
Yep.
So, Penguin and Mr. Freeze.
There's some great art in that book. Who doesn't love
seeing those two together? And there might be somebody else in there too. I'm not going to say.
There on the cover.
He's on the cover. He's right there. That one. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it was digital first before it went to print.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you probably know, you ordered that, so you know better. Is this a series? It
is a series, just another kind of out of continuity, just hey, it doesn't connect to any specific issue or time frame. Just read a Batman story with the classic rogues in all-in-one story with great art.
Yes. And thank you, TJM. I think you're Thomas. I think I know who you are. So thank you for your support. Glad you like the online shopping experience. And thank you for making your purchases with us. Awesome sauce. Yes,
that Batman Fortnite thing is, of course, the biggest thing since sliced bread.
We still have some.
Yep. Got a couple left if you get on the site quick. And their cover price as they should be.
Yes. Someone wants to charge you $20, you walk out in disdain and disgust.
So I'm going to piggyback that a little bit with everything that I just said. Classic villains, all in one book, beautiful art, great story.
He's got the best rogue gallery, Batman. He really does.
He really does. I think that's somewhat indisputable. Spider-Man fans, I think Spider-Man has an immediate number 2. He's the immediate second, but you can't really deny the Batman. Though people will inevitably bring up Kite Man and things like that. But anyway, Condiment King. I love Condiment King.
I think that's
I relish Condiment King. So yes, Legends of the Dark Knight. Pick that up. I have to say in full disclosure, Batman has 3 of my favorite books right now. My 3 favorite titles, anytime you ever ask me,
Wow,
I'm going to say Avengers, Captain America, and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because they're always great, and I'm always loving them, and those are always my 3 favorite titles. But darn, if Batman, Catwoman, Batman, Superman, and Legends of the Dark Knight, just after 1 issue, haven't become 3 of my top tier books right now. Batman Catwoman comes next week. If you haven't read any of them, pick up the first 4 and grab next week's number 5. Good. It's what makes comics great, no doubt about it.
There was one person in one of the panels for StokerCon this weekend who said something that made my skin crawl. She was an editor of prose and anthologies and comics, and she was asked the question, "What's it like to edit comics?" And the first words out of her mouth were, well, comics aren't really known for being like literature and being like known for good writing. And I just like recoiled, and I'm thinking, you haven't read any of Tom King's stuff. You haven't read any Jeff Johns. You haven't like lady.
On and on. Have you heard of Marv Wolfman? Yeah. So you kids fancy yourselves experts, eh?
I almost threw my phone in the wall.
But, you know, kind of like you said about comics getting a seat at the table, that's been the story my whole life. I would get to school
all know better.
With comics, and they're like, you were supposed to bring real books. You were supposed to bring something to read. I did bring something to read. That's not something to read. That's comic books. I've been dealing with that forever. And we all
blasphemy. That's right. Blasphemy.
It is blasphemy. And we all know, we all have a favorite writer. And we can all name 10 more writers in addition to our favorite writer. And I said it on the show last week, and it's 200% true that being a great writer doesn't make you a great comic book writer. The comic books is a very specific way of writing. It's a lot like screenplays. Yep. It's a lot like movie directing. It's a lot more like being a director than being a writer.
Truth.
And so a great comic book writer is an intensely talented individual. And so don't accept being slighted, and don't let people convince you that comics aren't literature and comics aren't reading. The story of Neil Gaiman, they wanted to retcon his award. He won that award, and then they found out it was a graphic novel, and they wanted to take it back.
It's a Hugo Award.
I mean, what kind of garbage is that? You're going to take back your award you gave to Neil Gaiman?
Come on.
You're not a better writer than Neil Gaiman?
Nobody is.
So anyway, yes, comics are great. It's what I say in the Wednesday video every week. Every week I want to show you a list of books that are fun to read.
Yeah.
Because yes, as I always say, people collect comics for 1,000 reasons. But the only reason to keep a comic is because you want to read it. That's what it's all about. And
TJM is liking She-Hulk also. And Fortnite and Wonder Girl.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't checked that out yet, but it was moving like hotcakes. That Joelle Jones?
Yep, it was my review for this week. You know, that Joelle Jones, is there anything she can't do?
Taking comics by storm.
Amazeballs. I mean, just look at the font for this. Look at the font. Look at the detail in the font. I mean, come on. Ugh. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So if you haven't read the Future State, I think it was the Immortal Wonder Woman, you might be a little lost because this kind of picks up from where that left off. But pick it up anyway because it's great. How do I say it? There's all of these gods and worlds that are converging because of this one. And she's going back to her home. And for reasons that we may or may not know, going back to her home could wreak havoc to the universe. So all of the gods and all the cultures, the Mascara, Olympus, etc., are like, wait, what now? No, we gotta stop this. We gotta stop this from happening. So I hope that's not spoilerific, but it's a great first issue. So definitely pick it up. And the art is amazing, and the coloring is also equally amazing. There's some of that coloring too. So
I might suggest, I'll throw it out there. I'm always encouraging folks to pick up those first issue Image books. Right now is a good time to pick up some first issue DC books. Wonder Girl is one. Robin is another one. Swamp Thing is one. DC's got some really cool things rolling out right now. So either grab that number one when you see it, or grab the jump in issue like Nightwing 78, like Justice League 59. DC's got some cool things working right now. And what I'm liking about it is that there isn't, for the first time in what feels like 20 years, there's no umbrella thing that they're running with. Yes, they say Infinite Frontier on them, but they're not being tied to a premise in any particular title. This isn't a New 52 thing or a Rebirth thing or this thing or that thing. It's just the book that it is. Batman Superman is a ton of fun to read right now. Pick up Batman Superman 16 and 17. And like I say, it's just kind of a good time to, yeah. And it was just so much fun. It's what World's Finest is all about. So like I say, like Wonder Girl, like Sensational Wonder Woman, DC's just got some fun things. It's worth checking some stuff out right now.
You know, and I'll be first to admit, I'm not a fan of the sidekicks, except for Dick Grayson. He's my fave. So I wasn't all that thrilled with the concept idea of this character. But I read the Future State stuff and fell in love with it. So I was a hard sell, and they won me over. So just saying.
I'll back up a little bit to that point, too, is if you skipped out on some of the Future State stuff, you might want to go back and check out some of that or pick up the trades when they roll out. I know the Wonder Woman stuff and the Superman stuff, there's going to be a lot that rolls out from Future State Superman in Action Comics and what's Superman, Son of Kal-El. Fred Van Lente. So like I say, just a good time to take a chance on some DC stuff.
Why don't you go ahead and read that out loud?
It says, it's She-Hulk that has me hooked right now from 2009 Fred Van Lente run. Yes.
Nice.
You know, She-Hulk's one of those characters, one of those books. All of her different series over the years have been finite, and they've all been really fun with their own personality and their own flavor. If you like humor books and if you have any interest in She-Hulk, or if you want to get to know She-Hulk before Marvel or Disney Plus makes her the next big thing, then pick up just about any trade paperback from She-Hulk. Obviously, I'm going to recommend the John Byrne one, 22 minutes in, since I said John Byrne.
22 minutes.
But yes, Fred Van Lente.
Take a drink.
Like I say, there's She-Hulk is always a fun read. It's always a clever book. I did like that run a lot. One thing I like about She-Hulk runs is they break all the barriers. They totally make up everything as they go along, and they're not afraid to step on previous series and rewrite things and, I don't know, goof off. And that's what comics need to be about sometimes.
What else you got?
Okay. Next on my list is the most recent issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Been talking about this book like crazy, and it just gets better and better and more fun.
Is it weekly? Like, it seems to be coming out all the time.
It's at least bi-weekly, and darn if they don't manage to sneak in an issue, it's bi-weekly. Comics is always wrong. When you say bi-weekly, when you say bi-monthly, that's supposed to mean twice a month, but in comics that means every other month. When you say bi-weekly, it's supposed to mean twice a week, but in comics that means every 2 weeks. She-Hulk is a constant of the Marvel Universe. And so Spider-Man, just the most fun, as fun as it's been in a long time. If you were ever a Spider-Man fan, you have to come back to Spidey, grab this issue or any issue you want to jump into. If you've never been a Spider-Man fan, pick up the latest issue and you will see why he has been around for 50 years and is always the top of people's stacks, why they make movies, why everybody loves Spider-Man. And because one thing he's doing in this book, Spencer is doing in this book, what Jason Aaron is doing in Avengers, what Coates is doing in Captain America, what Marvel's doing kind of across the line.
Cates or Coates? Donnie
Cates.
Cates.
And so no, Coates. Cates is Donnie. all the things that you loved about classic Spider-Man. Spider-Man is about superhero action and great villains. As I said earlier, the second best rogues gallery in all of comics. But what Spider-Man is really about is how much it sucks to be Peter Parker. And it's always been about Peter Parker and the side characters, his friends, his job, his family, his all the things that make up life for all of us. And all of that is happening in Amazing right now so well. It's such a perfect fusion of classic villains like the Kingpin, total Z-list villains that they're making cool, like the Spot. You probably don't know the Spot. You don't remember the Spot. Spot's in like 3 issues of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man from 100 years ago, but they busted him out and they're making him cool. The Rose, you might remember from the old Hobgoblin stuff. The Kingpin's son is back. And so classic villains, not so classic villains, classic side characters like Robbie Robertson. Like I say, just all the elements that made Marvel Comics great in the beginning. They're giving those elements new life with new characters in the new books. And so what made Spidey fun to read in the 60s and 70s is fun to read in the 2020s, because we all have lives with people that drive us nuts, with people we love, people we don't love, jobs and bills and bad guys and all these things. And we all relate to Peter. And like I say, he's making this book so incredibly fun to read. I've said a million times, traditionally speaking, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan, but when it's good, it's great. There's a little bit of art. There's a little bit of my man, Robbie Robertson, doing his thing. I'd say just a really, really fun time to read Spider-Man. This is number 66. Again, pick up this one, go all the way back to maybe 55, wherever you want to jump in, and get to reacquaint yourself with the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep, cover art. So T-Jams
on the stoplight,
liking the cover art, and
yep,
Burn, Slot,
Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's a very good point that what I just said. She-Hulk always gets Marvel's top talent.
Aggressively Relaxing. That's a great name.
I do like Aggressively Relaxing.
I'm relaxing, damn it!
Shut up, I'm relaxing.
Mommy's watching her stories.
So yeah, like I say, with Amazing Spider-Man, with a lot of Marvel books, it's a good time to get into DC books because they're taking things in bold, different directions, and it's a good time to jump into Marvel books because they've got that classic vibe. Well, it's not like rehash; it's just like I said, they're taking the classic elements and giving them, a fresh coat of paint.
Basics, yes.
That's
correct.
Fun stuff.
All right, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this.
Kojakaru.
What he said.
Kojakaru.
So, any and all things from the Hellboy universe, from Mike Mignola, from Dark Horse, Creepy Scary, Paranormal. You know me by now. That's just kind of what I do. That's what I read. That's who I am.
Oh, the horror.
So this is, I haven't read this one yet. I'm behind a little bit. I'm sorry to say. But let me show you. Can I show you this one?
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yes, no spoilers. Nothing totally gross. Okay. Because it can get pretty violent.
Nothing shocking.
I don't want to offend anybody. So slaying, mayhem, witch, ghost. That's pretty much all you need to know about this. So if you like any of those things, pick up this guy.
Slaying, witches, ghosts.
It's only 2 issues. So this is the second issue. So we should still have the first issue on our online store.
Yep. Thank you, Aggressively Relaxing. You're right there with me. And again, yes, that's true. And he's saying, thank you. You're the first reviewer. He or she. They are saying, you're the first reviewer I've heard who is commenting on how Amazing Spider-Man is doing a great job making old stuff relevant. And that's a succinct way of exactly what I'm saying.
Well done.
Is making what is fun about this stuff relevant and new again. Mm-hmm. And Marvel's doing it across the board, like you're saying, with Amazing, with Cap, with Fantastic Four, which I'll probably get to in a minute. What you got there?
I was going to go with, do you want to do another one?
Nope, it's already in your hand. You roll with it.
Sleeping Beauties. So based off the story by Stephen King and his son Joe Hill, adapted for comic book stories. So it's a little too close to home. So if you're still struggling with the psychoses of COVID, you might not want to pick this one up, but it's kind of similar. But basically, the plot, it's on issue 6. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the basic premise is there's some virus, something weird that's only affecting women, and it's creating this weird web over their faces and then making them just go like comatose. And so what is happening? How do we undo it? Who are the men that are left, and are they good enough to save the day, or are the women themselves going to save themselves? There's just a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff. So it's well done. The art's amazing. Yes, this one I want to show. Can I show that? Quick check. Nothing creepy or totally bloody. Yes, I can show this. I mean, the detail of this guy is just, it's amazing. There's some, goddess mythos stuff happening. So there's an element of the paranormal. There's an element of course, horror. There's an element of social justice and injustice across the board, as a lot of this takes place in a women's prison. So there's a lot going on, lots of layers, which I appreciate, in well-written comic books. And this is put out by IDW.
There you go.
Voila.
IDW has a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you already mentioned Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh, I stole it from you.
So I'm just like throwing that out there again. Legends of the Dark Knight. Great art, cool villains.
Mm-hmm.
Don't see enough Mr. Freeze. I'll throw that out there. But my other DC book that I mentioned, Nightwing 78 earlier, this is Nightwing number 80. If you're not reading Nightwing, you're missing out.
I got to pick this up.
And
it's Tom Taylor.
It's been one of my favorite books for a long time. He's one of my favorite DC characters. He's probably one of your favorite DC characters. Everybody really likes Nightwing. But like I've been saying about a lot of things, if you're not a fan of Nightwing, or if you don't know anything about Nightwing, now's a great time to get in. Because 78 was the jump-in point, already sold out and gone to reprint. The reprint of 79 comes next week. So pick those up next week if you've missed them, or just jump into this week's number 80. I don't want to say too much about it, but in a nutshell,
it's great art. That is some good art.
That is some great comic book art. In a nutshell,
Babs.
It's just fun, a little bit like Peter Parker, like Dick Grayson always has a lot going on, and he escapes the drama of his life by putting on a suit and going and beating up bad guys. Being the superhero is the easy part. Being Dick Grayson is the hard part.
Kind of like Peter Parker.
Kind of like Pete, and so it's always an interesting read, and he's a great character, and I don't know, it's just like I say, as fun as it's been, and good stories and good art. He's back in Bloodhaven. He's trying to establish himself as the premier crime fighter of the city, trying to put it out there that, hey, criminals, this is a bat town now, so you better pack up and go to Metropolis. And like I say, as you saw from the panels, there's interaction with Barbara Gordon and all kinds of stuff. Action, excitement, drama. What makes comics fun?
I wonder, and this is a rhetorical question, I wonder if Nightwing will get a bit more of a renaissance now that Dan Didio's gone. So there's been a long time rumor that Dan Didio, who was co-editor, publisher with Jim Lee, that left DC Comics over a year ago, he was never a really huge fan of Dick Grayson. And so I wonder if under his tutelage, if the character suffered, and now that he's been out of DC for a while, if now Dick's going to come back into his own.
There's a little bit of logic to that.
I wonder.
There's an inherent problem. I should say problem. If you saw Kazi's Classics last month, I featured Nightwing Volume 2, Number 1 by Chuck Dixon, and explained that that's where you really get to know the character of Nightwing. That's where you're introduced to Bloodhaven and all that. And I described a little bit why that run, the second volume, is so much more collectible than the first. The first run is great, but it's really hard to make Nightwing not a Batman knockoff. It's really hard to do a series with Nightwing. I shouldn't say it's hard. Traditionally speaking, they haven't done a great job of making Nightwing his own sort of reason for being. It can fall pretty easily into, well, this is just sort of a Batman knockoff book, and there's plenty of Batman books out there. So what are you doing with the character that makes it different from everything they're doing in all the other Bat books? And Chuck Dixon did a great job with that.
Yeah.
And yes, and it's easy. I say it's hard, and that's why I take it back. It's easy to do because he's a great character with a huge history.
Yep.
He's got tons of friends like Barbara,
and he's totally different from Bruce,
like Wally West, like Starfire. He's totally. I've always said he's the Batman people like, and so. Like I say, you just have to have a good writer like Taylor that finds something unique to do with that character. And I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that's what they've done with this run, is that they've found something to do with him that they can't really do with Batman or with Robin or with Batgirl or in any of the other books. And that's making it a fun read.
Yeah.
So pick up, again, the reprint for 78 and 79, and then grab this week's number 80. You could probably just jump into this week's, but you always want to start with part 1, right?
So I'm curious, TJM, if you're still watching, what did you think of Fortnite? If you want to give it, because we're not reading it because it's sold out before we could pop it open, but a little synopsis, if you're liking it, thumbs up, thumbs down, sideways, smiley face, hearts, whatever.
I will say, though I know nothing about it, that's Snake Eyes on the cover, man. When you ever see Batman and Snake Eyes, I mean, cool. Come on.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder how this doesn't have an IDW stamp on it. But at least, I mean, that's got to be Snake Eyes.
No, yeah.
So super cool. So if you're like me and you don't know much about Fortnite, but I mean, come on, Batman and Snake Eyes? I want to see that. Good stuff.
Well, I hope that it's of the same caliber as all of the other Batman books, because we've got a lot of new readers picking that up to get the code, to get the game character, etc. So I'm hoping that, the standards are still high, so that hopefully people will keep reading comics after the issues are over.
Yep. So that's what I'm always looking for in these big, how should you say, popular out in the real world kind of things. Obviously, I'm in business, so I like selling stuff. But as a fan, you want people to pick up the cool thing because it's cool, but you want them to try something else while they're here. And hopefully, like say, get turned on to Batman, Catwoman, Detective is really great. All the Bat books are really great right now.
Yes.
Was that the end of your stack?
Yes. And TGM, I'm liking the cover art on them. They're still on my table. You haven't opened them yet. Okay, good. Well, let us know once you do.
The cover art is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the interior art is equally cool. Again, what are you reading? What's at the top of your stack? Getting toward the end here, Daniel? But let us know what you got going on.
I think there's a new Department of Truth next week, Daniel.
Yes, Daniel's in the shop today, so I want to throw out something we were talking about real quick. Read an image book. I know I say it all the time in the Wednesday video and the Saturday video. If you don't have at least
desperate, read an image book.
Well, you're missing out. If you don't have at least one image book, you're missing out on something great. Geiger is great. Noctera is great. Department of Truth is great. Two Moons. They just have a ton. I mean, they have a ton of great books already. Spawn has been great forever. Monstrous is one of the best books out there.
Universe is coming out next month.
And yeah, and he just announced King Spawn. And but they've got some new books, like say Geiger, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. Come on, Noctera, Tony Daniel. Come on. So that's what Daniel and I were talking about today. If you don't have at least 2 image books on your list, you're blowing it. The last thing on my stack is Star Wars Bounty Hunters. What's that? Number 12. And aside from being the 12th issue of an awesome series that all the Star Wars people are already reading anyway, because everybody loves bounty hunters, this is the next part of the War of the Bounty Hunters stuff. That started a couple of weeks ago with War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha. As I've been saying, it starts with Boba Fett leaving Cloud City with Han Solo and Carbonite in his trunk, and every bounty hunter in the galaxy is now trying to intercept said Carbonite frozen Han Solo so they can deliver him to Jabba and get the big payoff. Now, yes, we've all seen Return of the Jedi. We know Boba Fett makes it there. But as I always say, the end isn't the cool part. The cool part is the travel, is the journey. And it's crossed over through all the books. There was War of the Bounty Hunters Alpha, and there was Star Wars 13. Now there's Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 12. Next week it will be Darth Vader.
Do you have to read them all, and do you have to read them in order?
Kinda. You don't have to read them in order, but you do kind of want to read through the whole thing. It's very brief, but it's crossing over through the whole Star Wars line. I usually, say you don't have to read all this stuff to get with the event, but there isn't one main bounty hunter event. It's just something going through all the titles. And it's a neat way for not reading anything Star Wars. It's a great way to try it out. If you are reading, let's say, just the core book, it's a great job to see what they're doing in Bounty Hunters or in Darth Vader or in Dr. Aphra. I say all the time, if you're any kind of Star Wars fan, you want all these books because did I already show the art? There's some Han and Chewie there for you.
It's key.
Han and Chewie always sells the book, right? That is some good art. So, like I say, obviously I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm liking all the books right now. Good stuff. And TJM saying Black Knight, Ebony Blade looks cool, and Blade Runner. Yes, 2 books that also came out this week. Black Knight, Ebony Blade, I think has surprised everybody. And it's a brief mini about a D-list Avenger that nobody but me had heard of before they started talking about him in the movies. So get to know Black Knight in a really good book. Again, great stories, great art. You want to know about that Ebony Blade because it's going to be a big deal in the MCU. And Blade Runner. There are 2 Blade Runner books, Blade Runner 2029 and Blade Runner Origins. If you're any kind of sci-fi fan like me, you're going to want to get up on those because it's awesome reading new stories and new characters in the classic Blade Runner verse. I love saying verse at the ends of things. And yes, Geiger. Wow. Gary Frank, man.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
Rorschach last week was really good, too.
Yep. That's another Tom King. Tons and tons of great books. So tune in every Wednesday. Watch the Wednesday morning video as I go through and show you all the cool stuff.
We didn't have one this week, though.
Whole diatribe of things that are out. And
this last week we had some shipping. There's been a lot of shipping inconsistencies and issues. So sorry we didn't have a video last week.
I try to do that every week. Sure, we'll get back to it next week.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, you check out the video. Then you go to black-cat-comics.com, pick up the books that we talk about, and pick them up either in store with an in-store experience. Or curbside, or get them shipped out to you. You read them, and then you tune in on Saturday, and we talk about them because that's what we do here at Comic Shop Talk Live.
That's right.
And next week, look out for Action and Detective, Batman, Catwoman.
Oh wait, classics.
Oh yeah, next Friday, week from yesterday. Tune into this month's episode of Kazi's Classics.
Is there a scene yet?
No, but I'm sure there will be by the time we get around to it. So this show, yes, this show is all about the new books, and that show is all about the classic books from the great eras gone by. So tune in next Friday, 6 p.m.
Pacific
Facebook,
time.
YouTube, because that's good fun. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for participating.
Thank you.
We appreciate your questions, comments, and queries.
Right.
And we'll see you next week at a brand new show.
Bye, guys and gals.